This is Tate with Train to Win. Today we're going to go over the bare bone basics of programming. When it comes to a solid program, there's a couple different approaches that you can take, but there's always one solid principle that it must follow in order to see the gains that you are looking to see. So what we have written here onto the board is a chart showing a visual of supercompensation. In order to have a proper program, you must follow the right approach to achieve what we refer to as supercompensation. So right here I have this blue line here, this level line. This line we could use to represent the level that we are currently at. So this could be referred to as the size we are currently at, the strength we are currently at, the speed we are currently at, depending on what we are training for. In order to see some sort of progress or change within our current state, we must disturb this line. So what I have representing here in this green line is going to be our fatigue, which is actually going to be the exercise that we do within the weight training facility. So when we are actually coming into the gym, we are walking out weaker than we did coming in. We are degrading down our body. Within the phase that we see strength gains, size gains, all the things that we are desired to, or all the things that we are training to see, comes within our recovery phase, which is this brown line here. So we fatigue ourselves down. Within our recovery phase, we then have a newfound adaptation that goes slightly above where we currently were before, which is also referred to as our supercompensation. When a proper program is designed out, this is the way it should look. There are different approaches that you can take where this program design can see undesired results. So, to give a visual of that, if we were to come into the gym and just go balls to the wall with every single training session that we do, going super deep into our fatigue to the point to where we draw it down, 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 all the way here to where maybe our recovery phase only reaches the point here, that's when we can begin to see a degenerative effect. So we have to find a solid balance and fine line when it comes to our training. This can also have an inverse method to where we don't come in and do enough. We come in and do exactly what our body's already adapted to before, thus seeing no progress. So getting into some of the more intricacies of that will be in further videos. But for the sake of this one, to keep it simple, this is what we're looking to achieve when it comes to our overall programming. And in order to achieve this, you must follow a principle, real basic principle called progressive overload. In order to achieve progressive overload, you must be doing more than you did the week prior, to put it in basic terms. And there's all kinds of different ways you can achieve progressive overload. You could achieve progressive overload within your intensity being the rate of percentage you are training at. Say you're training at 80% of your max, or 95% of your max, or 50% of your max, whatever it is. Intensity is one thing that you can progressively overload with. Volume, that one's a pretty easy one to progressively overload with. Say you did 3 sets of 10 with 300 pounds one week, then you could do 4 sets of 10 with that exact same weight and see progressive overload, thus doing more volume than we were the week prior. Frequency, the amount of times you are actually training. So if you're going in 2 days a week, upping it to 3 days a week, 4 days a week, up in the frequency. Or it could even be with a movement. Say you're squatting twice a week, then we want to squat 3 times a week, up in the frequency. Density, that could be the amount of work we're doing in an allotted amount of time. So say we're given 10 minutes to do, X amount of reps. We achieve that X amount of reps, and then we want to do it in 8 minutes, and we achieve that. Density, doing more work in less time, or the same amount of work in less time. And then the way we can actually design out a program to measure progressive overload can be broken down into 3 different blocks, say. So a microcycle, just for the sake of example, could be about 2 to 3 weeks long. Within that 2 to 3 week phase, we're looking to achieve that progressive overload or that supercompensation. And then a full-on program, this is more typically known as going to be like the mesocycle, following like a 12-week program, 16-week program, which is going to be multiple microcycles within one mesocycle. And then one that gets often overlooked is going to be the macrocycle, which is going to be multiple mesocycles, typically about 3 to 4, over the entire span of a year, say. So when it comes to our programming, to see the most efficient amount of results, having a measured approach is always going to be the best option. In order to have a measured approach, you need to outline your micro, meso, as well as macro cycles. When it comes to approaching this, again, there's all kinds of different methods that you can use to attack a program. There's no right or wrong way, as long as all these core principles here are sound. So this has been the introduction to basics of programming. Next week, stay tuned. We're going to get into a little bit more of the intricacies of how to implement progressive overload with all these different principles here. Again, this has been Tate with Train to Win. Thank you for watching. Into the